Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Sex You Want, a shameless journey to deep intimacy, honest pleasure, and a life you love, by Rena Martine. Narrated by Rena Martine. For JD. The book of love is long and boring. No one can lift the damn thing. It's full of charts and facts and figures and instructions for dancing. But I love it when you read to me, and you can read me anything. The Book of Love, The Magnetic Fields. Prologue, the beginning of a happy ending. I'm about to pay for sex. I've sent child molesters and rapists to prison for life. I've been called to crime scenes with brains and organs spilled onto sidewalks. I've donned head-to-toe surgical gear during autopsies to protect me from the smell of death. But I've never hired a sex worker, much less a dominatrix. I've also never played submissive to a woman, never met someone for the explicit purpose of having sex while stone-cold sober in the middle of the afternoon. Never had a woman bring me to orgasm. But judging from her suggestion that I bring any toys you want me to use on you, I have a feeling she's planning to change all that today. I pull up to the Dungeon, which is actually a mid-sized suburban home in the deep valley of Los Angeles. I park on the street out front and take a deep breath. This is a first for me, not only because I'm paying for what I hope will be a happy ending, but because I'm allowing someone into the deep recesses of my sexual imagination, a place that used to be shameful. I'm greeted by Mistress Moxie, the name given to me by the dominatrix I've hired, at the door. She's a petite blonde wearing an off-the-shoulder sweater and a pair of leggings. Moxie has the look of a young suburban mom who's gotten dolled up to take a trip to the local mall, not an intimidating sex worker who's used to inflicting pain on primarily male clients. She escorts me into the bedroom in the back, which I recognize as the largest of the playrooms featured on the Dungeon's website. "This is your first time, right?" she asks. I giggle nervously before answering, yes. Maybe because of all the situations my professional life has landed me in, the wide variety of pain implements hanging from the wall to my left reminds me of just how much trust I am putting in a total stranger. But I remember, my job as a prosecutor was to peer into the depravity of what humans are capable of, and her job is to fulfill my sexual fantasies. The reason I'm here on a random Saturday in December, I've just turned 40, and I want to commemorate my sexual liberation in a noteworthy way. Bigger than the sex parties I now attend. A punctuation in the intense role play my partner and I indulge in, where I'm submissive to him as his baby girl. I want to have an experience with a mommy to complement what he provides me as a daddy. And I'm about to pay $350 for it. We go over a few formalities, my request for no pain, whether I'm okay with anal play, and the tribute, that is, payment. Then, with her guidance, we begin setting the stage. Okay, so I'm thinking you'll be lying down on the bed when I come in, she suggests. Do you want to take your dress off now, or do you want me to unbutton it as part of the scene? I'm wearing lingerie underneath this, so it could be fun for you to unbutton the dress yourself. I don't actually know what the fuck I'm doing, but I remind myself, life exists just outside one's comfort zone. Plus, Moxie does know what she's doing, and she nods. Sounds good. So why don't you just lie down on the bed? I'm going to leave for a few minutes and change into something sexier. I do as I'm told. And as I'm in repose on the 4-poster bed looking down at my light pink thigh highs and black baby doll shoes, I can hear Moxie and some of the other dominatrices chatting beyond the closed door. Wait, are we all still going out for drinks tonight? Oh my God, he hasn't texted you back yet? I shut my eyes and imagine I'm somewhere else, not because I want to be somewhere else, but because I could be almost anywhere else in that moment, and this background chatter would be completely normal. But in this context, it's pretty hilarious. Moxie returns in character, wearing a black lace bustier, garter, and stockings. She purses her lips and grazes her finger seductively down her cleavage. Your daddy told me you two have been playing together. Don't be scared. I'm not mad. I told him I wanted to have my way with you. I'm going to train you to be a very good girl for him. This is exactly what I was hoping for. A mere extension from my role play at home and not some separate and distinct scenario where I'd have to build my fantasy from the ground up. She definitely understood the assignment. Moxie unbuttons my dress and chains my wrists to the corners of the bed. And as I'm lying there, offering myself up to be imprisoned, it strikes me how far I've come. Because tomorrow, I'll be speaking in front of an organization of 100 female lawyers, women who knew me as a respected attorney, women who may not recognize the pink-haired, tattooed person who will stand before them, the exact type of women who probably need my guidance the most. I start ruminating on how I'll break the ice. My name is Rena, and I spent 14 years as a deputy district attorney with the LA County DA's office, where I specialized in cases of sex crimes, child abuse, and domestic violence. And I'm here today to give you permission to fall out of love with what you thought you wanted. I've been wondering what your pretty little nipples and pussy look like. Moxie whispers in my ear, snapping me back into the moment. My mind is focused. Now it's time to get you nice and wet. She slides a glove finger inside me and, glancing at the assortment of sex toys on the bed, some hers, some mine, she grabs a large black vibrating wand, which happens to be my favorite. It's like the KitchenAid of sex toys. Sturdy, reliable, and amazing at its job. A true sexual workhorse. But this toy, like a lot of new vibrating sex toys, has about 20 different vibration patterns. And in the throes of Moxie trying to grab the toy with her lubed up, latex-gloved hands, she's switched the setting to one of those annoying patterns that seem more like a novelty than anything designed to actually get you off. And then my sweet and sensual mommy breaks character. Fuck. Okay, I can't get it back to the other setting, she mumbles while trying to keep the wand from tumbling out of her slick hands. I, lying on my back, arms totally outstretched, wrists chained to the bedposts, have no idea what to do. I mean, I wish I could help you, but... We make eye contact and both start laughing, and in that moment, I'm reminded that we're nothing more than two imperfect women in a room playing make-believe. But instead of being a young girl pretending to be a beautiful princess or a school teacher, I am, in fact, a 40-year-old woman sprawled naked on a bed pretending to be an innocent girl. The truth is, I've been reconciling contradictions most of my adult life. And while I don't plan on sharing today's particular details with the crowd I'll be addressing tomorrow, I mentally sketch out what I do plan on sharing. When the highs were high, when justice was served, it was the best job in the world, but the lows were indescribable. I reached my breaking point prosecuting sex crimes when I realized the system was broken. I reached the breaking point in my marriage when I realized I didn't want the white-picket fence of conventional monogamy. And I reached my breaking point as a lawyer when I could no longer derive any meaning from it. And then Moxie gets me to a breaking point. After using sex toys in all my orifices and bringing me to orgasm twice, she asks, "Was there anything else you were hoping to try?" The answer is a resounding no. I'm fully and completely satisfied. And I realize I want these attorneys, this group of 100 women who I'm speaking to tomorrow, to ask themselves the same question. Was there anything else you were hoping to try? About their careers, their relationships, their life purpose. Instead, I decide I'll end my speech with a question. that opens the door to all those other curiosities, which I've posed to thousands of women, clients, students, listeners since becoming an intimacy coach. What would your life look like if shame weren't an option? The aftermath in Moxie's room is my answer to that question. Puppy pads littering the bed, absorbing my bodily fluids, a wreckage of vibrators and dildos left after a sexual tornado, and me struggling to find the thong Moxie had slipped off me an hour earlier. Finally dressed and already worrying about traffic on the way home, we began our goodbyes. "This was a lot of fun. I'm game to do it again anytime," she says, hugging me on the way out. I'm not a John cowering out of a brothel. I hold my head up high, the winter LA sun kissing my smiling face. Because this isn't a walk of shame, a walk I know all too well. This is a walk of pride. Shameless is my badge of honor. Introduction. Back in 2012, some friends convinced me to sign up on a mainstream dating app. I went on dates with 30 different men. And on first dates with said men, I asked them all, yep, even the ones I knew I didn't want to see again, the same question. What are your views on monogamy? I was met with responses like, pretty traditional when it comes to that. Non-monogamy just makes things too complicated, and I'm a one-woman kind of guy. As people do in polite conversation, they then flip the question on me, and my typical murky response usually came out like, the idea of having something other than monogamy has always appealed to me. I often say that curiosity is the antidote to judgment, and there was an utter lack of curiosity on their parts. The conversation stopped there. My inner turmoil persisted. But I couldn't beat them, so I joined them. I married number 30. And in the 6 years we were together, I never sought out infidelity. I wasn't on dating apps or sneaking around behind my husband's back. But it found me. It's like telling a masseuse you don't need her to focus on a specific area, then feeling her massage a knot in your shoulder you hadn't even realized was there. Sometimes it takes another person's touch to unlock the pain you've been carrying with you. And the pain I was carrying was the complete loss of eroticism in my relationship. I felt like a sister, a best friend, a roommate, a travel buddy. I didn't feel like a lover or sexual being. These weren't affairs. I didn't want something long, drawn out, and stable. I wanted something short, passionate, finite. I wasn't looking to jump ship. I was looking to swim. And about 5 years in, I realized I was drowning. I can't stop cheating on my husband, I told my new therapist during our first session. And you need to fix me. I assumed there was something pathological about me, that I wouldn't want to be a member of any club that would have someone like me as a member, that I didn't feel worthy of love, which was why I would shut down sexually and emotionally once someone truly committed to me. I assumed that was why I couldn't be monogamous. So I came to her like a possessed soul would come to a priest, begging her to exorcise my shame demons. And week after week, she convinced me there was nothing to expel. I wasn't bad. My yearning for an unconventional relationship structure wasn't some sort of inherent flaw to be drawn out of me. You deserve to be happy, Rena. You're allowed to be you. And as I sat across from her one Monday night, she said earnestly, "There's a scream buried deep inside you, and it's dying to get out." Those words that I will carry with me until the day I die, ended up being the combination to unlock my freedom. The next morning, I told my husband I wanted a divorce. The next few years ended up being the most transformative period in my personal life. I traveled to Denmark and Mexico alone. I started Googling sex clubs in my city and later realized the best clubs aren't found on Google. I bought myself lingerie. I read Esther Perel and Emily Nagoski. I didn't miss an episode of Dan Savage's Savage Lovecast. I started sleeping with women again for the first time since college. I tried things I thought I'd love but didn't, costumed role play, and loved things I'd already written off as not my thing, anal sex. I began indulging in a lifetime's worth of sexual curiosities, and in that journey, I partnered with a man who enjoys coloring outside the lines as much as I do. Yes, I had dropped a bomb in my life, but I was building my dream home from the ashes. Still, my house was only half finished, because as I was designing a life of my choosing, I started to see that the longest committed relationship I'd ever had, my career as a DA, was dying a slow death. Like a companionate couple who stays together until the kids turn 18, my plan was to ride this relationship out until the age of 50, when I could collect a pension. In the meantime, I'd go back to school part-time and begin working toward licensure to become a therapist. If I could change one woman's life the way my therapist had changed mine, I reasoned, I would feel like I'd had a fulfilling career. And then the pandemic hit. After I'd baked all the bread and binged all the TV, I faced my existential reckoning. None of us knew how long this would last. Did I want to spend the 6+ years and a few $100,000 in college loans it would take to become a therapist? Or was there a way I could start helping people now? I enrolled in a coaching certification program. Just as I knew when I entered law school that I was there to become a DA and not just a lawyer, I also knew I didn't want to be a generic life coach. I wanted to be a women's intimacy coach. I asked myself, what would I have needed at the beginning of my journey to work through my sexual shame? Is there a way I could have bypassed those years of therapy, books, podcasts, tears, anguish, and feelings of being alone, broken, and dysfunctional? Can I help women in committed relationships salvage what they have in a way I wasn't able to? Can I show single women they deserve more and prevent them from getting into unsatisfying relationships in the first place? From there, my signature Shameless coaching program was born. Clients began knocking on my virtual door. I spent my lunch hours and evenings in sessions, all the while resenting the unsatisfying work I was performing at the DA's office. Yet another scream, dying to be let out. So I dropped another bomb, but this one was bigger and could be nuclear. Jumping from a civil service job with fantastic benefits to becoming an entrepreneur without a predictable income was the scariest decision I've ever made. And it's been the most rewarding. Since leaving the DA's office, I've worked with thousands of women as both an educator and a coach by helping them love their bodies, experience deep intimacy, and have great sex shame-free. They've spanned the globe, from Hawaii to Alabama, from Germany to Tasmania. I've worked with women from their early 20s to their 60s, cis women and trans women, celebs and stay-at-home moms, therapists and doctors, strippers and school teachers, queer women and straight women, and women at every point in between. If you are a living and breathing woman who knows you're missing something out there, deeper intimacy, honest pleasure, a life you love, this book is for you. Because shame doesn't care what your background is or how much money you make. It doesn't care what color your skin is or whether you went to college. But here's what I've also learned. If you can become shameless when it comes to sex, often the most hidden part of who you are, it will spill into every facet of your life. My own journey to shame-free intimacy had felt like a full-time job. And education isn't the same as guidance. None of my books, podcasts, or even my therapist could tell me how to find sex clubs, or that the type of BDSM dynamic I was looking for was actually called DDLG. There weren't any dating guides espousing the virtue of not waiting to have sex or saying that it's okay to need a vibrator to orgasm. And there weren't real faces. No one to reassure me with, "Oh, I've been there, woman. Here's how you navigate this." Therapists can't reveal their personal stories. Most sexual self-help books are written from an academic or clinical perspective. I wanted to feel normal by actually hearing from people like me rather than relying on anonymous content creators, professional sex workers, or case study avatars. This is the book I wish I'd had during my own journey. It's composed of lessons told through stories, my own and those of the clients and students I've had the honor of serving. And no subject is off limits. Threesomes, hiring a dominatrix, BDSM, sex parties. This isn't your mother's guide to good sex and relationships. I've changed names and small details only to the extent they're necessary to protect a person's identity. A lot of self-help authors will resort to creating avatars or amalgamations of real people to get their point across. I'm not doing that. My recounting of client stories and exact quotes is based on copious session notes, email and text exchanges, and my human and therefore imperfect recollection of our work together. Because what my own journey has taught me, and what the success of Shameless has confirmed, is that one of the best ways to normalize our experiences as women is through the stories of other real women, not imaginary people who've been concocted to fit a lesson plan. My goal in this book is to make you feel like you're having a conversation with friends over a reasonably priced bottle of wine, not being lectured to from an ivory tower or enlightened by a spiritual guru. Yes, I will also educate you. Not as someone who has a PhD in sexuality. I don't. There are plenty of ample resources out there to provide you the comprehensive sex education you were likely deprived of. And I'm going to point you towards some of them. As someone who's sifted through a lot of that information, I'm going to give you the remaining golden nuggets, the research and data that have helped me and my clients the most. Because the fact that 96% of women have fantasized about BDSM can help you make sense of your sexual fantasies. And knowing that year by year, more women are cheating on their spouses might help you think about why it's important to make sexual novelty a priority now. But knowledge isn't power. Action is power, which is why I'm going to tell you how to do the damn thing. I'll be giving you straightforward steps to help you love your body, experience deep intimacy, and have great sex shame-free. Some of these, especially in the first section of the book, will come in the form of homework assignments and mindset practices. Other suggestions will come in the form of conversation starters and practical action steps. I'll also point you towards some products, companies, and organizations I vouch for. In our fast-moving world, by the time you're listening to this book, there might be better options out there. I'm willing to take this risk to give you as much concrete guidance as I can. In exchange, I'll ask you to give me some grace if you're tempted to roll your eyes at anything outdated here. Deal? You'll get a lot more out of this book if you have a dedicated place to take notes and complete the assignments. Grab a journal or create a document on your computer. If you can stay organized with your work, I promise you'll walk away with one hell of a wellness toolkit. But before we jump in, I need you to promise me something. Don't yuck anyone's yum. Chances are you'll come across some stories, and if you've made it this far, you probably already have, that don't sit well with you. But one person's yuck is another person's yum. I personally dislike oysters. I've tried them, and they are not my jam. But it wasn't until I asked a friend to describe what she likes about oysters, the buttery texture, the way they slide down your throat, that I understood the appeal. Curiosity is the antidote to judgment. Let's get curious. Part 1. Free your mind. Lesson 1. Start visualizing. There were old guys and snacks. I'd asked my dear friend to come over and tell me all about the sex party she'd gone to. This wasn't the recap I was expecting. As we sat across from each other, sipping Trader Joe's rosé in my backyard, I demanded more. Start from the beginning, don't leave out a single detail. You see, I'd never known, or at least I hadn't known I'd known, anyone who'd been to a play party before. But my curiosity wasn't that of a voyeur. I wasn't looking to get turned on by the story. This was emotional masochism. I was holding up my wounded soul, passing her the salt, and telling her to rub it in. Harder. My then husband joined us at the table, nodding, laughing at the appropriate times, hell, even chiming in. So what kind of snacks were there exactly? And with each clarifying question I asked, I wondered if he could smell it on me. The desperate longing for a life that was nothing like the one we'd built. As she started recounting the details, a guy flashing his penis at the female partygoers through a long silk robe, a threesome of strangers positioned into an Eiffel Tower, she and her date locking themselves in the bathroom to escape the untoward advances of lecherous men, I felt pure, unadulterated envy. Don't get me wrong, the party sounded terrible. I pined for the option of going to a shitty sex party rather than going to no party at all. The end of my marriage a year later gave me a chance to make good on what I'd missed out on, a chance to create my own sketch instead of filling in someone else's paint by number, a chance to go to a sex club. I'd learned about the club through Tina, a friend of a friend who knew infinitely more about play parties than I did, which at the time wasn't saying much. After getting a, sure, why not, green light from my current partner, I'd applied online and quickly received approval for our couple's membership. As our Uber approached a seemingly abandoned building in a desolate part of East LA close to midnight on a Friday, I thought of crime scenes I'd responded to mere blocks away. This wasn't a kind part of town. After checking in with security, we were ushered into a massive room. A loud dance floor glistened to our right. An all-you-can-eat Indian buffet, yes, seriously, lined the wall to our left. A woman stood guard behind a bar in the back, ready to protect our BYOBs. But there wasn't another soul in sight. I know I said I'd be okay with a shitty sex party, but this felt like a scene from a David Lynch movie. As we soon discovered, the inhabitants of this ghastly soiree had all retreated downstairs to a large space that looked like an architectural spider. A boxing ring-sized mattress in its center and tiny bedrooms splintering outward like bizarre appendages. The lighting was low, bright enough to see women's heads bobbing up and down over men's crotches, but dim enough that I wouldn't be able to pick anyone's face out of a lineup. I need a drink. Bourbons in hand, we eventually made our way to a covered outdoor patio where a handful of fully clothed couples gathered around a decorative fire pit. Relieved to find a semblance of normalcy in this surreal, not-so-fun funhouse, I nestled in and got straight to the point. So, what are y'all doing here? A couple in their 60s had been coming weekly, sometimes Friday and Saturday, for a few years. It's really saved our marriage, they said. And I believe them. A 30-something pair had trekked from the next county over while a family member babysat their kids. The husband worked in insurance. The wife carried a knockoff Louis Vuitton bag. They seemed nice, suburban, normal. My partner and I made our way downstairs and got down to business on the spider's huge mattress of a belly. We started having the type of rough sex we dabbled in at home. Me play fighting, him overpowering and having his way with me. It was all sexy fun and games until I said the word stop within earshot of another couple. In our case, that was code for keep going. But to them, it meant something like, this woman is being sexually assaulted and we need to help her.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?